Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack, back again to bring you Mythic Star Augur and some of my thoughts and perspective and stuff like that I wanted to share with you guys today. So, going off the pull, my talents, I didn't really change anything up for this one. I tried Trail of Light, I tried Apotheosis, just kind of give them a shot when we were really struggling with the different ejections. But I found that really they didn't really do enough for me, and in many cases they did too much, where my Trail of Light overheal was just extremely heavy, and I really just wasn't gaining much benefit out of it. Or I would just have it where I would pop Apotheosis, and for the first 15 seconds or so, I would do a ton of healing, and I would get everybody topped off, but then the last 15 seconds of the duration was just kind of wasted. So, it wasn't working too well for me. For big mechanic on this fight is the Grand Conjunction. You will be marked with a different constellation over your head that has a different shape and a different color. And you basically just have to combine that with the right person, the person who is matching to you. So there are times where you can have multiple reds, multiple yellows, or something like that to kind of keep in mind. So you might end up looking for somebody on the other side of the room or something different like that. There's a number of weak auras, but I preferred basically just looking for the color by default. So the first phase, the first big phase, the real phase to go for is the icy ejections. You will always be having grand conjunctions regularly throughout each phase, but it's just augmented by the different ejections that are going out, or the different ads that are going out. So for icy, the grand ejections and stuff like, or the icy ejections that are going out are basically going to be dealing a ton of damage. They usually deal about 80% of your HP when they explode, so it's really, really important to get everybody topped off for these and doing as much healing as you possibly can to them. Make sure that they are in the position where they are not going to be dying, they're not going to be at risk of dying or anything else like that. Once the icy ejections go out, then you go into the boss for Frigid Nova. Again, it's the reverse of the Fell Nova. You just need to be stacked up on the boss. I'm able to get a Sanctify off every single time, and pretty simple for that stuff as well. You will have a lot of downtime in many of these periods, so for me, you usually be using a little bit of heal or keeping Prayer of Mending on cooldown, just so I'll be able to have my Serenities back off cooldown as fast as I possibly can, and it'll really help as I'm taking, huge amounts of damage once the icy ejections go off. You can definitely use Guardian Spirit if need be to protect either yourself or somebody else who's going to be exploding with their icy ejections and possibly dying from them. So it's really easy just to use your Guardian Spirit on somebody who's maybe 40% health, 50% health, or something like that. Drop Guardian Spirit on them, Angel will pop, the Spirit will absorb itself off the damage, and they'll be okay. I've used it on myself plenty of times, I've used it on other people plenty of times. You will often find scenarios where, especially if you're 3 healing, where there's so much damage going on that you're not able to kind of top everybody off. Prayer of Mending does a great job of helping prepare you for that damage and helping kind of smooth things out, but it's not always going to be there to kind of save you and bring people up when you really need them to be. So, as you're repeating this, the big thing is just keeping an eye on your grand conjunctions. One thing that's really nice as a holy priest, or just as a priest in general, is that you have life grip. I've had many times where on progression I will kind of sit back, let other people combine all of their stars and stuff like that. I will sit back and I'll kind of wait until I hit a point where it is just me and then the person opposite of me on the other side of the room where we have to combine, so it'll be very simple for me just to grip them. I've had a couple scenarios where I've helped other people get together through grip. I generally wouldn't recommend it because more often than not they'll have their own plan for their grip of their own, or blinks or anything else like that, so kind of keep that in mind. There's not also a lot of good times to use raid cooldowns until the end of the fight, so you're kind of just mixing them in whenever you can, when there's enough damage on at least half the raid from the icy ejections or half the raid from Fell Nova or something like that, but you must have them for the last phases of the fight. That's where all the raid damage is coming out. So leading up to it, it's all priority target healing. It's the icy ejection healing, it's the Fell ejection healing, all kinds of stuff like that. Now for the Fell ejections, we split into 2 groups basically. We had one side on the right of the door, one side on the left of the door, and we would steadily be dropping our ejections close to the door and moving from the door side to the side facing it. And the idea there is we want to slowly migrate from one side to the other, and the tank would kind of backtrack for us, clean up some of our mess. We would go back near the door and start all over again from there. The idea is that by the end of the phase, when the Fell is becoming almost overwhelming, we want to be able to have one area that we can generally have the rest of the range spread out in, enough so that we will be able to deal with our grand conjunctions, and we will be able to just kind of make it through the phase. We did Lust in this phase to make it a little bit easier in that aspect. Because of some of the changes in the fight, it's less of a burn at the end of the encounter, and it's really important just to get out of Fell as fast as you possibly can. One big thing when you're dropping the fell ejections is the pools will slowly separate, they'll slowly spread out after you drop them. So you have a little bit of leeway here where you're able to drop your pool, it slowly starts spreading out, and you can stand there, get a cast off, you drop the pool, and you'll be running out as the pool is still spreading out, and it will not give you any stacks until it fully has matured, fully has spread out itself. You know, this gives you a lot of room, a lot of time. So usually what I will do, I will step, cast Flash Heal, pool will drop to my feet, I will move, cast another Flash Heal, and keep on stutter stepping from there. You know, many times it's inevitable that you'll end up having to get a Fell Blaze because you have to run in through some area to get to somebody for a Grand Conjunction, because it's a lot better to take a heavy dot on just you rather than just annihilate the raid, because you know there was a wall of Fell between the two of you, you know, something like that. For the transition, of course, you will still see the Fell ejections on people, but they will not be dropping any kind of pools. You'll just have to keep on spot healing them, and then you'll be able to start mixing in some smites and mixing in more damage as you hit the transition. The very beginning of the transition, there's really not that much damage going on. Once the transition ends, of course, then the damage really ramps up. So as you saw there, there's a giant laser that'll split through the raid very quickly, and it'll be from the giant eyeball, which will just regularly appear, that's about the size of the planet, which is usually in the background. So it'll be one eye, it'll direct its gaze towards one area of the platform, and you have to react to it and you have to move out of it, or it's a one-shot. We generally mark two areas. We marked X and we marked the door, and those two areas are usually the safe zones. We didn't run into any problems where it wouldn't be one of those. So in many cases it would actually be either of those that would be a safe zone. So opting for that, either calling X or either calling the door, you should have a good amount of time just to be able to react to it, just to be able to get out of the way. And a lot of times I personally relied on the raid leader's call, because as I'm avoiding the ad in this phase, because he will be fearing you if you look at him, you know, for me, I always had my back turned to him, so I never really had to worry about it. Other range, you might have a better viewpoint of the eyeball, but you might also just have to end up turning every single time for the ad as he does his fear bomb. As you get more and more into this fight, many times we'd be stacking up after we get the ad down and before any kind of Grand Conjunctions start coming out. So we didn't have too many problems with this. This is also a good time just to have, you know, Healing Rain down or the Efflorescence from a Druid down, because a lot of this is just a lot of AoE healing on everybody. You know, everyone's taking damage. There's not really any priority targets for this phase, you know, because everyone has dots of them. Everyone has all kinds of damage to deal with. Now, one of the big things is the Voidlings that'll go out. They will generally be targeting the healers because we only have one tank here, because of the healing aggro that goes out. So Fade if you can. As a Holy Priest, you know, I have Fade, so I'm able to utilize it. Other healers, you kind of have to move to maybe the melee to get them cleaving off of it, or just to the tank whenever you possibly can. It's not a bad thing that I died here because I have the Legendary Cloak, and it's actually a pretty good time because I have a good amount of mana that I'm able to work with. So that once I'm able to res, I'll have maybe 30 seconds or so until my potion comes off cooldown, and I'll be able to use my second mana pot, and I'll be able to keep everybody topped off. Now, of course, I'm saving my Divine Hammer until the very last explosion from the ad, and this last explosion comes with just a ton of different mechanics that are going on. This is the hardest point of the fight, and even though the boss looks really low, it's a part where you have to do all the mechanics at once as fast as you possibly can. So you start off with the Grand Conjunction. You need to combine those very quickly, because then you're going to be having the World Devouring Force, the giant laser, to split the raid, and then I immediately go get into position and start precasting Divine Hymn, so that I'll be able to get everybody topped off and as secured as possible, because there is going to be one more burst after this that if you survive through that, you're home free. You know, there's so much AoE raid damage at this phase of the fight that it's just imperative to get everyone topped off to as much healing as you possibly can. Prayer of Mending is basically your best friend, and you get the fight down. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Be sure to drop a like, subscribe, share. If you want to check out my logs, they will be linked in the description below. Had a blast with this fight, and it was a very painful fight in many ways, but a very enjoyable one nonetheless. It was very well designed. So, looking forward to Elisand. Hope you all join me on the live stream sometime as I'm streaming my Mythic progression. Be sure to check it out over there, and I'll see you all next time.